Okay, I know what you're thinking. How are canned mushrooms better than fresh mushrooms? Every time I release one of my canned chickpea videos, it is inevitable that I'm going to get comments about why don't I use dried chickpeas? Why am I not using dried chickpeas in an Instant Pot? Do I not know what dried chickpeas are? Why? I mean, there are a few reasons, and some of those reasons cross over to canned mushrooms. I'm not sure at what point in history we decided to look down at canned food. It's something I grew up with. Canned corn, canned green beans were a staple of my diet throughout the 80s. So I want to break down my reasons why I believe canned mushrooms are better than fresh mushrooms. And then I'm going to make a simple pasta recipe. Same recipe, except I'm going to use canned in one, fresh in the other, and we're going to see if Monica can tell the difference. But first, what about fresh mushrooms? It's undeniable that fresh mushrooms are going to have better texture, better flavor, more complex, more earthy. No additives, less sodium, or really no sodium, more variety depending on where you live and the season, and sometimes higher nutritional value. So just based off of that, it sounds like fresh wins, hands down. But all of that only works in a world where you either grow your mushrooms yourself, which really isn't that hard, or you shop and use them the same day. Mushrooms have a shelf life of 3 to 5 days. And 3 to 5 days doesn't mean that they're incredibly good on day 3 or day 5. It's just how long you can use them. If you store them properly, sometimes you can squeeze 10 days out of mushrooms. Who knows how long these mushrooms have been on the store shelf, and they really weren't stored properly. But if you do buy fresh mushrooms, I will say remove them from the plastic, let them dry, and then toss them into a paper bag. The non-sealed paper bag will help them release their moisture, keep them dry, and keep them fresher longer. When you do put them in the refrigerator, always put them in the crisper drawer, and always avoid airtight containers. A sealed mushroom means trapped moisture equals spoilage. Or you can freeze them. It's pretty simple. Clean them, slice them, steam them for about 4 minutes, throw them onto a baking sheet, spaced out, pat them dry, and then freeze them. Once they're frozen separately, toss them into a bag. Or if you're using them right away, you can wash your mushrooms. I know the myth about absorbing water, but that is false. It's not true. It does feel like it's impossible to find a good source online because everybody has a different opinion on this, but it has been tested. Some of the top chefs around the world have tested this, and mushrooms do not absorb any extra water when they are being washed. It's simply a myth. Mushrooms grow in dark, moist areas, so if they were that porous to where they absorbed massive amounts of water, we would always have soggy mushrooms after it rained, and we don't. But as I've showed you in the past, when I cook my mushrooms, I prefer the water method. Toss them into a pan with enough water to soak the shrooms. Toss in a bit of salt, bring the water to a boil, and cook until it evaporates away. Add a bit of olive oil and saute until completed. And then you have a perfectly cooked fresh mushroom. But still, how are canned better than fresh? I want to get to that, but first let me tell you about today's sponsor. Wild Grain is the first baked from frozen subscription box for sourdough breads, artisanal pastries, and fresh pastas. I mean, look at all of this. I got cookies, waffles, breads, pastas, croissants, blueberry biscuits. It's all amazing. I've been getting their plant-based box and I can't imagine going back to store-bought. These are all freezer to table in 25 minutes or less, so you can enjoy homemade quality whenever you like. I mean, the difference between store-bought or big box grocery store bread is huge. This is some of the best sourdough bread I've ever had. Unlike store-bought, Wild Grain uses a slow fermentation process that's easier on your belly, richer in nutrients and antioxidants, and can even help lower blood sugar spikes. And I love their pastas. We're having the cavatappi for dinner tonight. And for every new member, Wild Grain donates 4 meals to the Greater Boston Food Bank. Plus, they are constantly adding new, seasonal, and limited time specialties for you to try in your next Wild Grain box. So gang, you gotta check out Wild Grain. Head to wildgrain.com/SauceStache and use code SauceStache to get $30 off your first box. Plus, you'll get free croissants in every box. Wild Grain, thanks for sponsoring today's video and for making incredible plant-based breads. Oh my gosh, this is so good. So we're back. How are canned mushrooms better than fresh mushrooms? I feel like I can hear you yelling at me already. Canned mushrooms have an incredibly long shelf life. These have been in my pantry for probably 2 years, and they're good until 2027. Got 2 more years on them. Not everybody has the ability to run to a store every time they crave a mushroom dish, or have the foresight to always have mushrooms pre-prepped. I'm a prepper and planner, but I still like to have canned mushrooms in my pantry for the times that I want them quickly, in a snap. It's lunchtime right now, I'm incredibly hungry, and I'm about to make this meal really quick. These organic sliced baby Bella mushrooms are already prepped, cleaned, sliced, cooked. They're ready to go. You can eat them out of the can, and I often do. Sometimes I heat up a tortilla, toss these on with some onions, cilantro, maybe some hot sauce, and boom, I have some mushroom tacos within 5 minutes. Plus, Canned mushrooms are almost always cheaper per ounce than their fresh counterpart, especially when not in season. They're available year-round, no matter the season, and canned mushrooms almost always mean far less waste. I don't care who you are, but no matter how I store my mushrooms, how properly I do it, I'm almost always gonna end up with some mushroom waste. They do make great compost, but still, I would much rather use all of the mushrooms than only get to use 3/4 of them. So that's my case for canned mushrooms. I will say fresh mushrooms are fantastic. I am not putting them down. I know the title of the video is why canned mushrooms are better, but I will say that fresh mushrooms are going to be better in most scenarios. But in some scenarios, canned mushrooms are better. So what about that recipe? Let's get cooking these. I wanna see, are fresh mushrooms far superior than their canned? Can Monica even tell the difference? This is gonna be a cool test. This is gonna be a very basic mushroom pasta. I've already cooked my cavatappi. I've strained it and saved some of the water. I'm gonna cook some of my fresh mushrooms using the water method. Some olive oil, little salt, black pepper, fresh minced garlic. Toss in half the cavatappi with some parsley, a little bit of that cooking water, and half of a squeezed lemon. For the canned mushrooms, we're gonna toss our mushrooms into a pan, no cooking. We're gonna immediately throw in the pasta, all of the same ingredients, mix it together, and now we can plate. Both of these look really good, but let's grab Monica, see what she has to say. Does fresh beat the canned? Okay, right off the bat, what do you think?
I think it looks awesome. I love mushrooms and I love pasta, so I'm excited.
I mean, you could see the difference between the two.
Yes.
Okay, let's give them a taste. Let's jump into this one first. Get a shroomy shroom. Boom. Cheers.
Oh my God, delicious.
Yeah,
like my favorite type of thing.
5-minute pasta. Let's jump into this one. Boom.
Also delicious.
Also really good.
Love it.
Okay.
So this one is like very flavorful. The mushrooms are a little bit more flavorful and saltier. This one has a bit more of a pop to the mushrooms, a little bit more of a like firmer texture that I kind of like. You know?
Okay.
So
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Close your eyes. Give it a chew. Do you think you know which one that is?
I'm kind of torn.
Okay. Okay, open.
So I think the first one was this one and the second one was this one.
Okay, why do you think that?
The first one just kind of had that more of that like flavor and that pop to it.
Okay. Try the mushrooms just on their own without any pasta.
I mean, they're really similar.
Yeah, they're really similar. Are you gonna change your vote now that you've tasted them individually?
Well, yeah, actually now that I'm thinking about it, this kind of tasted like the first one that you gave me, I think, because it had that saltier flavor.
Yeah, they're a little saltier.
Yeah, and this just has like less of a saltier flavor, but it's still really flavorful. It just has more of like a savory, I guess, like,
okay,
you know, flavor.
If you were to rank them from 9 out of 10 on how close they are between the two dishes, like,
I mean, they're really like a, 9.5. Like,
yeah,
they're very similar.
So if I were to tell you that this dish took 15 minutes longer and required me to go to the grocery store, this dish, we had everything in our pantry ready to go. Which one, I mean, would you say that there is a massive difference? Is there a case for this dish over this one?
No, I would just do the one that I had all the ingredients for, and I would just make it. It's so similar.
So that is my case for canned mushrooms. Fresh mushrooms absolutely have their place. You can actually see this dish looks better. But if you're somebody that like is cooking all the time and you want to cook things from scratch, there's no need to feel bad about having your pantry filled with a couple cans of canned mushrooms. I really don't think there's anything wrong with them. I'm gonna stand by my canned products, canned potatoes, canned mushrooms, canned corn, canned green beans. They all have their place, and in some instances, they can absolutely be better. I mean, I'm gonna take the canned mushroom pasta. I'll give you this one.
Great.
But I mean, I don't know. I hope I proved my point.
I've always liked canned mushrooms. I think they have their own like personal flavor that goes well with certain dishes. Like for example, when I make like homemade pho, I like to use the canned mushrooms. They just kind of have like more of that soup texture.
Yeah.
Like I just personally like them better for that. So I like canned mushrooms and they're just easier and they're really good. And I like the like firm, like kind of like pop they have to them when you bite into them.
Yeah.
Where like you can, I mean, these have a similar, but not as much, So it's almost just like a different preference. From time to time, I'm like, oh, I'm in the mood for the canned version. But it's not like I like one better than the other, but I just think they have their place,
Boom.
See you later.
Thanks, baby.